guys, it's Julia and welcome back to my channel, and for today's video I'm going to be doing another recommendations video, and this is going to be about fiction that involves mental illness and kind of just talking about some books that I do recommend. And this is my second time doing this type of video because I have done one previously and I do read a lot of books surrounding dark topics like this. So let's jump right into the recommendations. First book I have here is The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Filer. You guys might recognize this from my standout book recommendations video if you've seen that. And I try not to include the same books, but sometimes they just overlap. Plus I know not everyone watches every single video that I post. This is just about Matthew and his brother, and one night they sneak out and only Matthew comes back, and it's kind of just like what this left on Matthew and him experiencing everything for himself. And I really enjoyed this book. It was in my standout video because it stood out to me a lot and it was really different. The writing style was like, wow. I'd never read a writing style like this before. And this book also does have some little like pictures, and throughout the book he gets a typewriter, so the font changes, and it's just really interesting. It's really interactive and it's a really good book for mental illness. I have Into the Darkest Corner by Elizabeth Haynes, and this is about a girl who meets this oh so charming guy named Lee, and things go horribly wrong, and this one does have triggers for abuse and rape and OCD. That's the mental illness that this one focuses on a lot, and I think I really was interested in this aspect. And if you're looking for something dark, this one was so nerve-wracking. Like, I don't cry while I read books. I've never cried while I've read a book, and this one almost made me cry because it was so it's just a really interesting book. If you like things that are dark, I would suggest picking this up. This is not like the one that I would recommend most in the world to you guys, but if you are interested in the topic of OCD, or you read about rape culture and things like that, then I would suggest picking this one up. Next book I'm going to be showing you guys is one that isn't necessarily involving mental illness, but the things that she goes through are symptoms of mental illness, and people start to associate her condition with a mental illness, if that's kind of vague. But that is Brain on Fire by Susanna Cahalan. And no, this book is not necessarily 100% focused on mental illness, but it is a memoir about this girl trying to get her diagnosis of what's going on with her, and it's so incredibly interesting. It has like, the symptoms are like seizures, and like she feels like she's always itching, like she feels like there's bugs on her, and like things don't go right for her. And it was an amazing book. I read it last month or the month before that. I read it in 2016, and it's probably one of my favorites of the year, and I really loved it, and I couldn't recommend it enough. I listened to the audiobook of this and I loved it. And next up I have Last Night I Sang to the Monster by Benjamin O'Leary Symonds, and this is the author who wrote Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. And basically this one does have to do with more mental illness. It's like him going to not a psychiatric hospital, but it's a bit different, and it's kind of like a camp to like you check yourself into and you recover there and then you leave. And it's just about this one boy who goes there, and it's about his bond with his roommates and him going through all this stuff. And if you've read Aristotle and Dante, the writing is jaw-droppingly beautiful. So yeah, this has the exact same writing. Obviously it's the same book, but I never hear anybody talk about this, and I picked it up and I loved it. And there's just so many amazing quotes. Like, I think it would be okay to jump into the water anyway. I would drown, but it'd be such a beautiful way to die. God is also perfect and beautiful, the desert and the sky and the ocean. And there's just so many good quotes in here, like, there's nothing cool about being young when the monsters of night have stolen the sun. And like, no one is here, maybe not even me. I can prove they're madmen, but I can't prove the monsters exist. A beautiful book, and I would really suggest it. And I read this like so quickly and it was so good, so yes. Next and final book I have here to show you guys is one that I just read last month, and that is The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. And I really thought this was interesting. Basically it's about the Lisbon family, and the 5 daughters commit suicide one after another. About these guys that live kind of across the street that are kind of like fascinated by them, and they find them so mysterious and interesting, and they just kind of watch them, and you experience each suicide from their point of view. And this was really good. It is also a classic as well. It was written in 1993, but it's a really interesting, and the writing style was really good, and I thought this was really interesting and dark, and the atmosphere was amazing. Like, It's really interesting and it was really insightful and really dark and eerie. I love the writing and I love the tone of the story, so yes, I would highly recommend this. These are my recommendations for mental illness books, and if you haven't checked out my first video and you want more recommendations, I would check that one out as well, because some of my absolute favorites of all time are also in that video. But I would definitely suggest all of these. Brain on Fire, like if you were asking me which one I'd recommend the most out of the 5, I'd probably say Last Night I Sang to the Monster, Brain on Fire, and The Virgin Suicide. Not that these two weren't good, because they were really good. That's why I'm recommending them to you, because I would never recommend something I didn't like. And all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you would have to say, and I'll see you guys next time with a new video. Bye.